Hello and welcome to another Leica review. Today we will be reviewing the Leica M10 image quality versus M240. In my previous videos I have mentioned that Leica M10 should perform similarly to Leica M240. Of course, there have been a lot of reviews trying to say that Leica M10 performs better. And it does in certain respects, which we will talk about. But I wanted to test it in regular daily use. I wanted to see how it would perform if the lighting conditions were good. That, for example, if you were to take it outdoors into a daylight scenario, and to see if the pictures that we get, the photographs we get, would be any different than one another. And more importantly, I wanted to see what the differences in color renditioning would be if you were to use the same lens. Now, having said this, I know some of you are wondering what Leica M10 does offer better, which we will discuss about in our next review. Firstly, let's discuss what the circumstances were for this test. I wanted to use the same identical lens for both cameras. One was the M240 and use an adapter for the Leica R lens, 21mm lens. Now there was a particular reason why I chose this lens. Although some of you might believe the Leica Sumilux or the Almarit 21mm happens to be the best lens as a 21mm, Leica did produce one of its best lenses, and 21mm, it has become a legend, but yet it has been forgotten because it's an R lens, an older lens, a lens design that is a borrowed lens design. Well, I'm talking about the Super Angulon f4. This lens design belongs to Schneider Optics. If you visit their website, you see the Super Angulon series. But this lens company that produces also cinema lenses is well known. It's also a German company. So the 21mm, because of its accuracy in lines and the lack of distortion, is the lens that I chose. Of course, we could have chosen a 50mm, but I wanted to also see how much detail it would capture if you were to take photographs outdoors. Now, I'm going to show you side-by-side comparisons of the two lenses. But before I do, I want to mention the most important claim that these reviewers have done with regards to M10 versus the M240. They've claimed that there is a two-stop advantage. What that means is if I were to set my aperture at f2 on the Leica M10, then I would need to go to 0.95 to get the similar look. Or similarly, if I were to set it at 5.6, then I would need to have as much light, and that means I would have to shoot at f2.8. That means that Leica M10 would have the two-stop advantage. Sadly, all my tests showed that there was no difference in normal daylight circumstances. In fact, when I tried to dial down the aperture to lower f-stops, I found that it was overexposed. So to make this test, I used both apertures at the same settings to get the most accurate comparative images. Now, as you will see these images, you will see what I have observed to be the same identical images. So I will present you the both images now, and I will explain what I have seen, and of course, we will discuss further what these implications mean. We'll start with the first picture called "This Boats on a Harbor," and I took this photograph just to see how it would render the gradation of tonalities. Now, if you look at the water, see there is gradation of blues, grays, and blacks. And you see that it is perfectly lit, or that the colors give this renditioning of expansive space. And the boats with its high details can be seen. Of course, when we look towards the horizon, we see that as far as the eye can stretch, the view is in sharp focus. So between these two cameras, being the identical lens, the image quality does not deteriorate. Here, the next photograph is a fishing boat. And if you look at the fishing boat, you see the same kind of gradation of tonalities and color renditioning. Unlike some of the reviewers that have claimed that the colors look different, they really don't. And of course, I wanted to test the linearity of the lines. So see how much these cameras can capture in terms of details. And in this next image, as you can see, it is of what I call the linear climb, these straight lines running up the side of the building, which renders an impactful image saying that these lines are straight. And in identical ways, they have no difference. Similarly, you look at the relief boat. Now, as much as the lights and the contrast are rendered on the side of this boat, you look up and you see the straight lines of this bridge's construction, and they are not skewed. They have the perfect gradation of tonality between light and dark. And look at the Leica M10 image and compare it to the Leica M240. You will see that these images are truly almost the same. Now the next one is called Tanks of Color. And in the same way that we saw on the side of that boat, there are color gradations here. Yet the color gradations in the shadows and the lights reflect what this accurately depicting lens does. It renders all the images with beautiful, accurate colors. And that's one of the reasons why we chose a 21mm. Similarly, we have Under the Bridge, which is the second one of the Bridge series. And that one, you can also see the linearity of the lines, the gradation of tones, and it is identical in terms. Of course, the real test came in when we did Under the Bridge shot, which is this one here. And you can see that whether it is close distance or further, with an aperture setting of, let's say, f8, we were able to capture everything in beautiful sharpness. And as you can see, the images in both cameras are identical one-to-one. Finally, Under the Bridge, the last one, is the one I wanted to discuss in particular, because that one has shadows, and you see the shadows are well lit. You see the gradation of tones from the dark to light, and in those, if you look at it closely, you'll see that there is no distortion of image quality there, and that is because both of these cameras are able to capture great images. Now, getting back to our comparative review, these are of course more subjective, or something that our eyes judges. And if you were to put it onto MFT charts and TF charts and compare it, there might be a slight difference if we were to able to look at it more closely. But if our eyes cannot tell the difference, if our eyes cannot differentiate between these two images, then what would be the point of buying another camera? Unless, of course, it offered advantages. Now, as you know, Leica M10 has abandoned the video capabilities, so for that very reason it offers less. It offers less battery life. Yet, as I have said, it has one advantage. It has better software. What that means is when you capture an image in low light circumstances and there is noise, the computer programming that is inside the Leica M10 is going to process it and remove much of the noise. It is for that reason you will see a better, less noisy image. And that, of course, accounts for the 1 to 1.5 stop difference. Now, could I do the same thing if I were to export to the Lightroom? I could do much more. I could reduce it. And that, of course, is our next review, which I will show you the images captured between two different cameras. Of course, Leica M240 showing a little bit more noise, and then correcting on Lightroom. Of course, we have always said that the camera is only a tool. So if you know how to use it, you can do amazing things. And with Leica M240, the possibilities are still there and still surpasses what the in-camera capabilities of Leica M10 offers. So if you are going to use it and shoot photographs that are in low light and high ISO, you will be able to reduce those noise issues if you feel that they are disturbing. On Lightroom, similar, there are multiple programs you could use to reduce that noise. But I will ask you this. In the days when the film was around, we loved them. We said it had grain. Yet today we are talking about removing everything that we associate with the past, or what we call a photograph. Maybe a photograph is supposed to have a little bit of grain. Or maybe a photograph is supposed to mimic a memory or recall an event. And if your photographs are looking like an iPhone photograph, what would be the point of buying an $8,000 camera? Or similarly, what would be the point of buying a $10,000 lens like the Noctilux? You're paying for a difference. And the difference, it must show in the images that that camera is able to render for you. In today's day and age, I find a lot of cameras lack character, especially in the other company productions. I mean, I use all kinds of cameras for my work as a filmmaker, as a photographer, anything from GH5 to Sony a7S Mark II, or the Red camera. And they all have their own unique characteristics. But what I do find that if you want to capture an image that is unique, it has to start with the lens. And I can tell you that if you have on the Leica M9, or even a Leica M8, you could produce amazing images with the lens that you have, more so than what your camera has. In today's society of consumption, we are driven to purchase more and more, thinking that it will make us better photographers or better filmmakers. Yet, that incremental change costs thousands and thousands of dollars. And we should ask ourselves, do we actually need it? And I leave you with that question. And I thank you for watching this review. And I hope to see you in our next review. Please, if you like this review, subscribe to our channel, like this video, and if you have comments, please do so in our comment section. I will try to answer those questions. And more importantly, we are not subsidized by some camera company. We're not sending equipment from some camera shop so we can say favorable things about lenses and cameras that we don't truly believe in. We say what the camera is, all the benefits, pros and cons. Similarly, we speak about lenses from a user's perspective, rather than talking about what the camera companies want us to say. And to make these videos, we ask your help. And if you feel inclined, please make a small donation. It will help us a long way in making more reviews for you to make better buying decisions and to learn more about what these cameras and lenses do. I thank you for watching.